The fact that the world is going crazy means we're getting closer. We create the new earth. The new human is already inside of us. This is the first lifetime in which we have been born with two aspects of our soul inside of us. She came into my body and then channeled through me for 6 hours straight and showed me how she became the mother of creation. It was mind-blowing. In the new state of consciousness, we will learn as manifestors. This is the first time humanity has been born with access to our entire Akashic record. Angels have also said we will have alien contact when we have world peace. We can't actually shift until the earth shifts. And the angel said it's coming from a flash of light that's coming from the same sun that we are from. As we're stepping into the new earth, we need to be ready to see it. All of humanity will look back on that moment and say that is the moment that everything changed. So this will be unmistakable. So here's what's magic about when we get to this space. They are now talking about, there's this belt of charged particles, which they say that those are entering our body, that we are, in terms of how that affects us, it could have the effect of making us extra tired, making us feel, it has a physiological effect. But this is part of how they're supporting us to try to get into a higher state of consciousness, how we're being supported. So all of this really stems from what is the shift in consciousness? What does it mean when we talk about what is new earth? What is the new human? And I think one of the most interesting things that the angels have shared to me is that we create the new earth. The new earth does not yet exist. The new human is already inside of us, that this is the first lifetime in which we have been born with two aspects of our soul inside of us, that we have what we might call our 3D aspect, our current vibrational aspect is in us, is present, but then inside of us, dormant, just now waking up because of these charged particles you're talking about, now starting to come to life is this higher vibration aspect that's starting to begin to emerge. And that if you think about this other part of you, it's going to still be you. It's still same memories, same personality, all those things. But just like in any aspect of your life, you could say you have days where you are at a lower vibration and days when you're at a higher vibration, and whatever your band is, right? Your low day and your high day. Then take that octave, take that band, and now take it up a notch. Still you, right? But imagine your good day, and then you go all the way up to an experience that we have not yet had. So it'll still feel like you, but it'll feel like you walking through the world from a perspective that we have not yet experienced, like being in your best bodhisattva spiritual perspective. Yeah. And so the charged particles are helping us to start to move more and more, to let this part of ourself emerge. Yeah.
It's fascinating because it really, I mean, watching some of your channelings as well, it really brings us back to this real chemical nature, biological nature. It reminds us that we're in this, I don't know how else to put this without sounding super esoteric, but we are stardust, and it's just,
Yes.
it's
Oh my
such a
gosh.
friendly
Yes.
reminder of that.
They talk about that all the time. They say you are stardust. Like we are. It's so interesting when we've talked about what does it mean to be in a body, and it's not that we think of ourselves as being stationary. Like my body is a physical thing, and this desk is a physical thing. When in fact we are actually a wave. So how do you encapsulate a wave inside of a body? We think of the body as being this, is it like a jar that you fill up with liquid and then you have the jar? Not at all. It's a moving thing. And so how do you keep all of the parts of us assembled inside this? So it's like this constant effort, almost like beaming us into this physical shape over time as we progress along a wave of existence. So it's so not what we think. But the beautiful thing about that is that it means in every single moment we are recreating ourselves. That if we were literally poured inside of a jar and the jar was the body and we're just kind of locked in the jar for the whole trip, then that's a pretty stagnant experience. It's not that. We are literally a wave. And so that wave in every single moment has to be recreated. So we have every opportunity to change everything about our lives and about ourselves.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because I can feel the truth of it as you're describing it. We are these ways, and somehow we're carrying this awareness that then collapses everything so that we can have a linear experience through time, and yet there's
Yes.
so much to us that is this wave, and it's like, what is this awareness and consciousness that gives us this ability to have this linear experience of time? Like, it's really quite trippy when you start to think about it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It really is. Yeah. And the whole concept of like, so we think about past and future. We think about past lives. And one of the metaphors, so the angels, when I channel the angels, I have a hard time remembering their words. They give me kind of a second track. They give me visuals because it's almost like I'm really far in my right brain. And so images stick, but words don't. And so, one of the images that they gave me to help understand the concept of time and past lives and all of that is a pool table with all of the balls in the center and the triangle, and then you hit the white ball and it goes and it hits the triangle all at once. The balls push all at once, right? And that's when we decide to incarnate on Earth. All of our lives are created in a minute, in one instant, all of them. And so we think of it as like, oh, I lived that life and I ended it. And then I came and did this life. And then I came and did this life. But here's a really, if you ever heard of Dolores Cannon, who's amazing, right? Dolores Cannon,
Yeah.
her whole thing started with having these real time conversations with Nostradamus. So what if Dolores Cannon was Nostradamus and this was her two selves living at the same moment, right? But separated in what we would consider, it's not a different, it's just literally separated by, if we think of the different time frames as even dimensions or however you want to phrase it. She's just talking to herself. Maybe she was Nostradamus. I don't know. But it's likely. But isn't that amazing to think about? That they
Oh,
just existed at the
it's
same moment.
Yeah, one of my favorite, short stories, I was reading this in the Sunday Live, just because it always comes up for me. I don't know if you've read Andy Weir, it's called The Egg, and this guy passes away, goes to heaven, speaks to God. "God, why are we here? What have we existed in?" He's like, blah, 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 shares it, like, all the insights. It's a short story, but it shares all the insights, which are fascinating, and then he goes, "Oh, and now I'm gonna send you back," and he's like, "Okay, cool, I guess I'm gonna go back, get reincarnated," and he's like, "Where am I going back to?" He's like, "You're gonna be an Asian peasant girl in 511 AD," and he's like, "Wait, you're sending me back in time?" And he's like, "Oh, well, time is just a construct the way you've been experiencing it as a human, like, of course,
Yes.
I send you
Yes.
back as you." It gets quite prophetic because then it starts talking about how everybody is actually all one person gestating, having an experience
Yes.
amongst each other, like, speaks to unity quite profoundly. But,
Yeah.
yeah, really interesting to feel into into the billiard ball metaphor as well in terms of poof, and yeah, I mean, sure, why not? Dolores Cannon, like, yeah. Fascinating to feel what's and this was one of the things that you mentioned as well, is actually as we step further and further into what's coming next,
Yeah.
more and more people are gonna be seeing angels, more and more people are gonna be tuning in, and I've heard this from other people, like, their psychic abilities are gonna be coming online, their audio senses, clairvoyance, like, all this sort of stuff is gonna be starting to come online. Do you see more of that happening, and can you speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. So the specific thing that angels have said is that we will become so those people who already, and many of us on the spiritual path would call ourselves empaths. Imagine that, but like 10x and everyone. So it's like an emotional telepathy and so we always think about like how is it that we're supposed to get to world peace? The angels have also said we will have alien contact when we have world peace, which is like, how are we supposed to get there? Well, if we have emotional telepathy, then there can be no war. How can you deprive anyone of what they need when you feel their pain as your own? When you feel like if you have too much and they have not enough, you couldn't imagine not sharing what you have because you would feel their lack as your own lack, right? It becomes second nature. It becomes natural to find compromise. So this is the beauty of it, right? This is how we come together. So the telepathy is not it's really important. It's not just the coolness of being able to like, wow, spiritual gifts, they're amazing, but it's incredibly important in terms of how do we evolve as a species. How do we come together? How do we resolve the polarity that we're experiencing right now, which is really the polarity. I think it's confusing for people, I think, to see the world right now in the state that it's in because there is so much polarity. And I think it feels discouraging. It's like, how in the heck are we supposed to get from where we are now to unity? And it feels like we're moving away from unity, not towards it, because the polarity just seems to get worse and worse and worse. And what I would say is that the world healing is very similar, or actually no different than individual healing, which is that the polarity has always been there. It was buried. And all that's happening now is it's coming to the surface. It needs to be seen. We are meant, that's part of our role. We are meant to witness, to be the witness, to maintain our spiritual perspective, to be the witness, and to love humanity back into wholeness. And so we are not getting further. The fact that the world is going crazy means we're getting closer.
Mhm. I mean, it seems somewhat incumbent upon us to, do the work in some ways, but then also back to where we started the podcast, there is also, what do I call it, celestial support in sort of guiding us into the next wave as well. So we can take a lot of heart from where we're headed based on what you're sharing as well. And I mean, now we're looking at the world and the polarities are like the amplification on them is quite loud. Um, but it's interesting as well because I mean, one of my questions coming into today was going to be, what were some of the things that, in the past you've had a look at that have actually you've seen transpire, but then feeling into some of your old videos, it was like 2020, and you were talking about, you know, the USA potentially no longer being united as a states thing, and like the financial crises and stuff like that. And I mean, it makes me really scratch my head and go, huh? Like, how did, well, whoa, Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, like some of the predictions that you've made in the past that have come through, like at this particular moment in time, maybe I'll give you some space to speak to those.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you can imagine when that information started coming through, that was literally at the very beginning of my trance channeling. I'd been a healer for a long time. I'd been working with the angels for a long time. But it was as I opened and as I grew and became clearer as a channel, that opened up the opportunity for me to begin trance channeling. And that was a whole journey of its own. And that took me like a year to even figure out how to like do the mechanics of it. Once the doorway was there, I couldn't figure out how to make it work, and that's a whole story. But after the conversation started, the angels I'd been speaking to came in one day in meditation, and they said, we're going to be introducing you to another angel, and this angel is safe to talk to. And they showed me that here they were, and then they showed me this other angel, and it was clearly an angel but a slightly different shade, a slightly different color, and they were like, this angel is okay to talk to you, and this angel has important things to tell you. And so then the very next day I channeled, and then in comes this angel, and the first thing he says is, I'm going to share information with you. You have to share this. It will save lives. And then begins a 6-month odyssey of like the worst news you can imagine, like the earth rift and the US falling apart. And I mean, it was just like, and I'm getting all this stuff. And the last thing I want to do in the world is share it, like the last thing. And so I sat on it, for like 4 months. I sat on it, and I told a couple close friends. But it was terrifying to come out with this stuff because it sounded, at the time, it sounded insane. Did not want to be the person, in the park with the sign, the end is nigh, like I was like, and I didn't want to inspire fear, all the things. And I finally realized what finally got me to come forward and to bring these messages onto YouTube, which is like how I started, was sharing this stuff on YouTube. Was I realized through some conversations with friends, talking about other people they knew, and talking to some people I knew, that on some level all of us know all this stuff already, that we all knew about all of this. Everything that's happening, we knew before we came, that we agreed to come and be here during this time. And so all I'm doing is bringing it back by sharing the information. I'm bringing it back up into our awareness so that when it happens, we're not scared. So that we recognize, oh yeah, this is part of the journey. I'm meant to be here during this time. I'm meant to be I'm meant to be the witness, right? I'm meant to serve during this time. That it's all of service. So yeah, so the stuff in the beginning sounded crazy. They gave me some very, very specific stuff that happened right away, which gave me encouragement. It gave me the confidence to keep going. They talked about, like, one of the really early things they said that then happened so specifically is they said that truck drivers would abandon their routes. And I thought that is so bizarre and so specific. And then right after that, COVID happened, and truck drivers became like a huge thing in 2020, and they were all abandoning their routes. And they talked about supply chain shortages, and they talked about the bird flu, and they talked about, I mean, everything. And then it was like, boom, all one after another, all happening. But then they got into these bigger things about, yeah, about the US stuff that at the time sounded crazy. And then, oh my gosh, there it is. Like there it happened. And you see now the concept of the US, the US, they said the US would lose its political hegemony. They said payment processing would be a critical piece of that. Well, the entire experience of the what we are in right now in terms of the issue with the US dollar all started when the US sanctioned Russia by not letting them access payment processing, by blocking them off from the SWIFT system. So payment processing was one of the, just like truck drivers were a linchpin moment, payment processing was a linchpin moment that then set in motion a whole series of events that bring us to where we are now. So it's been a wild experience. I've learned to not try to read into what they say, to just relate it as I get it, because even if they say it as clearly as they possibly can, it's really only clear in hindsight that, oh, that's what they, because I'm always trying to interpret it from today. I'm always trying to interpret it really from yesterday. And they're talking about the future. But it has been, yeah, it's been an amazing journey of faith and trust, is being willing to just say it as I see it, and I say it or share it as I get it, and to trust and to not get in the way of that.
Inspired Souls, I wanted to take a moment to thank all of you that are subscribed to this podcast. Everything you see around here is powered and empowered by your subscription to this channel. Thank you so much for your incredible love and your support. To all of you that haven't yet subscribed, please do take a moment. As I'm saying the word subscribe, the button below is lighting up in the colors of the Inspired Evolution. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon. Join the movement supporting, promoting love, positivity, and wisdom like this around the planet together. Thank you so much in advance for doing so. Yeah, information of a higher order must be so difficult. Well, I mean, it's difficult to interpret at the best of times. You've got the scholars. And I mean, do you mind, like you said, it was a whole story, but do you mind us going into there a little bit? Because you've got a background with, well, you're corporate, sorry, you're an exec coach, and then there's angelic healing that comes through, and then you realize you can channel angels,
Yeah.
and then recently you're channeling the mother of create, like, whoa, like in your own evolution journey, like how does like I mean, what was it like the first time you realized you could connect to angels even? Like I'm sure there's some people tuning in that sort of have an inkling, but they're like sort of, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
can you describe us a little bit through the process and the journey of what's happened for you through this, if you don't mind? Yeah.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, absolutely. Because I do think it is. I think the thing I would say, just to preface before I do share that, is because it's true. There's so many people that are going through the exploration of their own gifts, and I would say that each one of us is different. And the key is to be willing to be creative and be open and understand that each of us is like a unique circuit board, that we don't know how we're wired or how it's going to come through us. Like we have to learn by mistakes and by trying and seeing. So when mine first came in, it was like having wild psychic experiences, and mine were about like bilocating. So, for example, and this was showing me that what my healing modality was going to be like in the beginning. This was how I was meant to heal people before I became a trance channel. And so in the beginning, so one of the first things that happened, I was, and it happened a couple different times, but the big one was I had just been to A Fest, which is Mind Valley's like big festival. I was there, had a great time. I made a bunch of friends. On my way home, I thought about one of my friends, and then all of a sudden I was in her body looking out of her eyes. And I could see what she was looking at. I could see she was on an airplane. I could see the movie she was watching. I could see the lady's shoes that she was looking at. And I, of course, like so startled, I jump out, text her, "Are you on an airplane?" And she confirms back, confirms the movie, confirms the shoes, all of it. And so then I learned I could do this at will. I could make an appointment with someone and say, "Hey, I'm going to go." I have a friend the next day. I'm like, "Hey, tomorrow, can we try this?" And 11 o'clock, I'm going to try to look through your eyes. Second time I tried, it was really funny. I said, "Okay, tomorrow at 11, I'm going to try to look through your eyes." So I go into her body, doing the same thing. Thought of her, boom, I'm there. But the crazy thing is I couldn't see anything, but I could feel her body. And I could feel that she had like I could feel in her legs, it felt like she had multiple layers of fabric, almost like she was sitting underneath a tablecloth and the tablecloth was resting on her legs. I could feel specific things, but I thought, oh, it's not working. I can't see out her eyes. And then she texts me later and she says, yeah, she was in a workshop and she was wearing a blindfold. But she had gotten cold and she put her scarf on her lap. So it was like, it was very, very accurate. And so what this was showing me is that I was meant to learn, I was meant to do healing by moving my consciousness into another being. And then the angels would move in through me and they would bring the healing energy and I would be able to see and manipulate the energy so I could move in. So I can move my consciousness. If you want to feel what it feels like, I could move my consciousness into your body. And then from within there, I can feel the densities. I can feel if you've got a scratchy throat. I can feel if you've got a congestion in the liver. And then the angels come in and they help to move. And then the cool thing about when I used to work this way is then when the energy shifts, it's like a whoosh. I could feel it in my own body, and I would know I'd have this immediate confirmation that the healing was effective. So this was the beginning, and I used to this was how I worked for several years. And then one day I was sitting down and meditate, same spot, and the angels would always come in from behind me when they would work. And then, but I was sitting down to meditate, and all of a sudden, the minute I closed my eyes to meditate, they sat on top of me. They sat here. They sat on my forehead and on my chest, and it was like a 300-pound person sitting on me. It was so heavy that I could barely breathe. I was, I'm like, okay, what is this? What are you guys doing? And why? Like, come in already. Like, why are you squishing me? Like, what's going on? And nothing. I got no information. Could not figure it out. This went on for 6 months. The minute I would close my eyes to meditate, immediately they would be sitting on me. And I was perplexed. And so then finally, after 6 months, I get this dawning information, this idea that maybe they're not trying to come in, maybe they're trying to pull me up. And what I was feeling was not the pressure of them sitting on me. It was the difference between, it was like G forces, the difference between my frequency and their frequency. And it felt like pressure on me. It felt like, so that's the crazy thing. When we raise our frequency, it feels like weight. We feel heavy because it's just like leaving the planet, like gravity, it pulls on us. So raising your frequency actually makes you feel heavy, crazy. So as soon as I realized this, crown chakra opens, I go straight up. And now I'm standing, I see myself in a space. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here. And I'm in this space and I see myself surrounded by angels. And I'm so excited, like over the moon. After 6 months of this process, I'm like, I did it. I'm here. This is happening. And I'm waiting for them to say something, like something. Okay, now what? What do we do now? And nothing. They literally sat there and just smiled. I call it like the wisdom or the patience of the eternal. Like people who they've got nowhere to be. They're happy to just sit and wait for you to figure it out. And I was like, okay, are you gonna pantomime? How about, can you write on a tablet for me? Like, what am I supposed to do? Nothing. They just sat there in a little semicircle and smiled at me for every time I meditated, I'd go up, they'd be there smiling at me and nothing would happen. 6 months this went on. And so like, yes, it was frustrating. Yes. And there was, who do you ask? Who do you ask what to do? There's nobody. You know what I mean? Like there's no book. I was like,
Yeah.
how do I do this? So that's what I mean about be creative, about it. You bumble through. And part of it is we're meant to figure it out. We're meant to discover how we're meant to operate. So finally, one day it occurred to me that I could go up there and leave a piece of myself down here. And that is when trans-channeling began. So what happened when I did that is it kind of created a little pipe where words and stuff could come through. And I started off with letting the words come through and I just wrote them down, one at a time. And then when I did it the first time and I got to the end, and when I was writing it, because when you channel, it's very hard for me anyways, words, I don't comprehend words very well. I just would get one at a time. I'd write it down. I got to the end, read it, and it blew my mind. Like not only did it make sense, it was profound, like profound, poetic, like this was clearly divine consciousness speaking to me. So yeah, shocking. And then I continued that way for a little while. And finally they said, you can dictate. Why don't you dictate onto the computer? This will be much faster. So I started with that. I started dictating. And then they said, okay, Now we're going to recondition your vocal cords to transmit frequencies. So then I wasn't able to really speak for about 4 months. I could talk for 20 minutes and that was it. And then nothing, because they were doing stuff to my vocal cords for about 4 months. So now when they come through, they're transmitting frequencies, healing frequencies. So that's how I heal now. So it's been a journey. I tell you, it was not like all of a sudden one day it just happened. It was like, no, they're going to make me work for it.
Well, one of the pieces in there that I'm downloading from you as well is, and I think is worth shining a light on, well, so much in there, but part of me. One of the key things is this concept around teachers versus your own path and your own journey. And like you mentioned a couple of steps before, is like trust has been such a fundamental element of it,
Yeah.
right? Because I think so many people hand their power over in terms of like, oh yeah, like there's got to be someone to show me, otherwise, like I'm sure I can't unlock that. And yet,
Yeah.
there's been this element of your journey, which is like, okay, I've actually got to like this is an uncharted space for me to move into, and I'm sure there's been some reference points along your way, but nonetheless, it's like I've got to chart my way forward and find my way, and then return, and then just what that does in terms of I'm seeing like the integrated, like the cellular integration of the lessons as they come through
Yes.
because they're your lessons, right? It's
Yes.
not something that's been handed down to you. That bit's yeah, really, really sticking for me in this moment. Now, then you also moved into this phase with the mother of creation. We were talking a little bit earlier. Like, can you tell us around what's happening there?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it is a big thing about my life for myself, and I'm sure this is true for many of your, if not all of your listeners, but super, super true for me is that there's never a moment that they let me sit on my laurels. There's never a moment that they're like, and it's like the minute, the minute I feel like I've got it down, like the minute I was like, I felt like I was really good at healing. Like when I had my modality, I'm like, I got this. I know how to do it. I'm really confident. Then immediately they come through, and you know what they said? They said no more private sessions. No more, done. And that was how I was making my living, right? That was my ink. I had left the corporate world. I was like freaking out about that. And you have burned the bridges. You can't go back because once you're like talking about angels, they don't want you back there. they're like, you're out of here. You're done. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be a healer, and I learn how to do this. I'm like, okay, finally, I've got clients and I'm working, and this is good. And then they're like, great, you're really good at this now. You can't do it anymore. Now you have to start. And it was been like that every time. Every time that I get like, okay, I have this down, I'm ready, I'm good. Then they say, stop doing that, and we're doing something else. And so I've been working, I still work with the angels, but the most recent part of my journey was bringing in this really extremely cosmic consciousness, which I was terrified of in the beginning because it just felt so darn big. And I had dreams about it. I have a very clear dream where on the dream I'm on a raft, like a wooden raft in the middle of the ocean, and I'm with a bunch of people. And I know there's this really giant, scary presence coming towards me. And I know it's coming for me. And I tell all the people, I'm like, save yourselves, like run away. I'm telling everybody else to leave because I know this being is coming. And she comes in and she sits and she just settles next to me on the raft and just sits next to me. And that's the whole dream. So I had to really work through, because the thing is it's expanding is terrifying. Expanding is really scary. So, I've had multiple dreams. Another dream where I see three frequency bands, and I'm in the first two frequency bands, and then there's a third band above me, and I see my head is right on it. And I'm afraid to go into it. And my guide is with me, encouraging me to go into it. And I look up and I see that band contains all that is. It's oneness with everything. And I feel if I go into that, I will lose my mind. It will be so overwhelming and that's the fear. I'll lose my mind. So it's been a process. But so I eventually got over myself and began channeling her. And but the challenge with that is that so she's amazing. She came through on a couple of occasions where the first time she came into my body and then channeled through me for 6 hours straight. It was unlike anything I've experienced, where she gave me a first person experience of how she was formed and who she was, and showed me how she became the mother of creation, and to see it from her perspective, it was mind blowing. I can't even tell you, mind blowing. So that's how she communicates with me a lot. Like she'll show me, she'll let me feel it, experience it. But she is like, who is she? She is, all of our, there's so many different female goddess types, right, that we have, that many of them refer to her. So I think it's Humea that births, like one of the things she showed me in that experience, that she births souls from all over her body, which is the legend of, I think it's the Hawaiian goddess Humea that births from all over her body. Or no, it's, I can't remember which one, I'm sorry. But anyways, there's many different aspects that all reflect her, that are all about her. So it's like she's been spoken of in many different cultures in many different ways, but she is essentially the mother of all souls. And yeah, incredible. The first as the meditation opened up, when she first was, before she came into my body and began speaking through me, she showed me the vision. I see a vision, and I see Yeshua. I see Yeshua walking away to be incarnated, and I see Yeshua's mother. And I assume at first, and I think it's Mother Mary, because I think it's Yeshua walking away and that's his mother. It must be Mother Mary. And I know he's walking down a lane, and I know he's going to be incarnated. And I know that his mother knows everything he's going to experience and how he's going to die. And then it occurs to me, wait, that's his earth mother. His earth mother is on earth. Who's this? Who's that? And I realized, oh, it's his spiritual mother. And so and then it goes from there. And I realize she is the mother not only of Yeshua, but of all souls. Yeah, it was mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing.
Hi there, guys. I wanted to take a quick moment just to introduce you to my one-to-one coaching. It's something that I deeply love doing. As you can tell, conscious conversation is such a massive part of my life. And having one-to-one, deep, meaningful conversations with people where I get to show up as your brother or as the coach or as your mentor has been such a gift for me personally, and a gift for lots of the people that I have supported on the journey of living a more spiritually empowered, spiritually powered, spiritually aligned life. You don't have to take my word for it. Here's some examples of people all around the world that have experienced profound transformations through this coaching experience.
Amrit is a fantastic coach.
In a few sessions, he got to a depth that I'd only experienced before working with certain medicines. And
he's gone through a lot of the struggles that you're probably facing, and Amrit's been a really strong, supportive figure in my journey.
In control of myself.
I'm kinder to myself.
I actually have that vision and a purpose.
I do feel like I'm a better version of myself already.
Amazing energy.
He was easy to talk to, which made me easy to trust him.
Working with Amrit at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and really I was bouncing out of bed.
Whenever I get off the calls with Amrit, best money we've ever spent.
I would not recommend him because I don't want everyone to know about him, and then I won't be able to book him. If he gets too busy, I won't get my turn.
I would say absolutely.
There's no way you can work with Amrit for a period of time without being transformed.
So if you're considering him as a coach, do not hesitate, because you won't be disappointed.
Alrighty, so hopefully that's inspiring your evolution onwards and upwards. And if you are so inspired to evolve, you can book in a one-to-one call with me directly at www.amrit.coach/life. And guys, if I can say so myself, I do think this is something quite special. Most people that I see building things online don't really work with people this deeply, this intimately, one-on-one as things start to grow, just because it is so time intensive. And yet I'm so deeply passionate about the transformation that comes from one-to-one coaching that just isn't available anywhere else. It would be my absolute honor and a pleasure to support your spiritual awakening, your spiritual path, your spiritual unfoldment. It is my life's work. I look forward to seeing you in the call. Back to today's podcast. Yeah, I mean, mind-blowing is the right word, but it's interesting as well, just that relationship with mind at that frontier, right? Because it's almost like we put our best practices into place. We're using the mind to get us to a destination. And then at some point, you've got to let the GPS coordinates go.
You do. Yeah.
It's
You
really
really do.
dynamic, which is just, yeah, it's fascinating to hear you share. I mean, there is and one of the points you made a few moments ago, like just pressure as well. I think that was so healing just to hear you talk about the pressure, because so many people, like right now, especially those that are a bit more conscious at this particular time, it just feels like such a squeeze for so many people. And as you're describing, the pressure is actually part of a function that's sort of like, it's a squeeze to get you into kind of where you're going. I mean, I want to sort of circle that back into a couple of things that you said before, which is like, you said we're actually born at this particular time with like two different sort of
aspects of our soul.
That's really trippy to
I
feel into
know.
in
Yeah.
terms of like, and do you think like one is gonna go by the way and then one we step into, or like what's actually why what's going on there?
Yeah. So the way I would think about it is that in the same way that you can have an inner child, right? Your inner child, if you tune into your inner child, if you tune into an inner experience that you had, inner trauma, say if you go back to age 3 and you remember trauma from that time period and you remember what it is to be that child self is very real to you and exists inside of you. It's just that you are now the mature self and that you are the one that's kind of driving the ship most of the time, but sometimes inner child is driving the ship subconsciously. But so you exist inside together, but you are the one that's mostly on top. And so it'll be like that. So it's not that we forget who we were, all those pieces are still there. It's just that we now have access to a higher bandwidth, a higher frequency of ourselves. Same us, higher frequency, higher octave, which gives us access to unity consciousness, to telepathy, to a much more openness, where it's like a spiritual perspective, right? Opening your eyes and your mind to a spiritual perspective. Yeah. The other big thing that happens with that is that in this lifetime, this is the first time humanity has been born with access to our entire akashic record, to to all the information of our every life we've ever lived. Like in the past, every lifetime we've lived, we had access to those past experiences, past lives that were relevant, right? It was like we would pick and choose. We would say, okay, I'm coming into this life. I want to bring in this trauma. I want to bring in these specific gifts and these specific skills in order to have this experience. And so we would pick and choose off the shelf, and then the rest would be locked away. And there would only be a few people on earth who were gifted with the ability to by, with permission, to be able to access the Akashic records. But now doors open. Everybody. So the idea is we are meant, because as we move from this state of consciousness to the higher state of consciousness to the next phase of consciousness, the one that we are in is the one where we are meant to learn through contrast, where we're meant to learn about ourselves through this experience of confronting ourselves. It's an amazing school for learning. And so this has been like a book. We have the book of all our past lives, all our past issues, where we have been trying our best to explore ourselves. And the goal is, how much of the book can you read? How far can you get in the book? And some people have only gotten a couple chapters, and some people are way deep in the book, right? They've learned a lot about themselves. So when we go through the shift in consciousness, then we get to leave the book behind, right? And that's great. Like, we will get to shed all of our karma when the shift in consciousness comes. Amazing news, right? All our karma comes away, which, by the way, will feel like our bodies, it'll be during the flash of light, our bodies will start suddenly feel very heavy, and we're meant to lay down and not do anything. Just lay down and let the angels, the heaviness you feel is the weight of the karma as you're beginning to lift to it. Just like how I felt heavy when I was trying to connect with the angels. So you'll feel heaviness in your body. You'll lay down, you're lifting from your karma. But the important thing to know about that is, what that means is that we can't take the book with us. That if you want to get the most out of the experience we've been having, read as much of that book as you can now. Because when we leave our karma behind, we will no longer have access to it. It goes away, and we will no longer be able to learn about ourselves in the same way. The lesson changes. In the new state of consciousness, the way of being human, we will be doing a different thing. We will no longer be living in a karmic experiences of recreate, like seeing ourself and our world, recreating our wounds outside of ourself and encountering ourself in that way. In the new state of consciousness, we will learn as manifestors. The job will be to tune in telepathically to what does the people around me, what is most needed by the earth and by the people around me, the people that I love, by humanity, and what is it in me that will fulfill that best? How can I express my soul in a way that is most of service to humanity and to the earth? And then we try to create it. And the challenge is, in the process of creating it, what problems do we have? But we don't do it karmically. We are like riding the wave of consciousness, solving them in the moment. So it's a very different experience of learning about our limitations. So the book, if you want to read the book, do it now.
it almost sounds like we're becoming, I don't wanna sound blasphemous, but it almost sounds like we're gonna become a bit more angelic, to be
Yes.
honest, the way you're
Yeah.
describing that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we are different from angels. Angels have a different role in the universe than humans do, but absolutely more like them, which is why our frequency will be high enough that many of us will see incarnated angels. So incarnated angels are angels that have incarnated into a light body. They're not in a physical body, but they're in a light body, and there are many here on earth right now. Many, 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 and they have come specifically to help guide us through the shift. But way more are never incarnated. They've never been incarnated, and they're like an essence. They're everywhere. Like a unified consciousness. I think of it almost like the way we talk about dark matter being everywhere that there's nothing, there's dark matter. Like that's how I think of angels. There's way more. But yeah, but they're different from humans, but we will, as we move through this, is very possible for someone who has been an atheist to suddenly see an angel walking down the street. And how cool is that going to be?
You bring that up because I was gonna we were touching on this before the podcast, and yeah, like, my faith is that of a Sikh, and so we don't really have, like, angelic archetypes in our faith. We've got our 10 gurus, and we sort of feel into that. Um, and what I found as I started to recently go through the process of booking you onto the podcast has been quite profound for me, touch wood, just to sort of share. Um, this concept around angels, like I've had certain felt sense experiences, and I was like, wait, like angels? Wow, okay. And more so color bands rather than actual like winged figures or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's been very interesting. And then I started to take a moment to zoom out and go, why am I not open to the concept as open to the concept of angels? And it was like, primarily because it's most of the collective sort of upbringing of mine is like angels Christianity. And it's not that I'm disconnected from Christianity. Like I grew up, went to a uniting church school, like very much Christian, and religious education was a big part of it. And, the frequency of Christ consciousness, my God. But it sort of felt like that was theirs. Like they had a monopoly on angels.
Oh,
But
interesting.
realizing that actually that's not the case, and that
Yeah.
angels are available for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's really interesting to sort of, as you're describing, like angels actually are there. And I mean, one of the things you also share is you've got to to speak out loud is really helpful to speak to an angel. Like for those that are looking to build their own connections with angels, what would you suggest?
Yeah, I absolutely encourage people to build their relationship with their angels. It is true, every single person does have a guardian angel. The guardian angel incarnates with you, which to me is like the ultimate statement of love. That imagine, so you as the human, you come in and you are the one driving the ship. You are the team captain. That before we are born, we are on the other side, and we are maybe with a group of our closest friends, and closest could be past family, past friends, and we all decide, hey, let's do an earth life. So who's going to go in? Who's going to be the boots on the ground? And so you were the one that's raised your hand and said, I'll do it. I'll be the one. And so everybody else says, okay, great. Off you go. We will be your team. We'll be on your side. We'll be here helping, doing all the things. But you, as the one that goes in, is the team captain. So the first thing that we often struggle with is that many people, the question that they're asking for their guides or their angels is, what should I do? And that is the wrong question. If we ask that question, we will get crickets, because you are the team captain. That they are all around. Literally, imagine a football game where the quarterback is there with the ball and they're like, what should we do? Like, nobody knows what to do. They're all just standing around like, give us a play. Tell us where to go. We'll catch it, right? We'll catch the ball. Just tell us. That is what's happening. So number one, ask the right questions. So we have to start with a concept of where we think we want to go, right? And that comes from the heart. It's incredibly important that we start leading from the heart. So rather than thinking about what you're trying to get away from, which is what we usually do, we say, well, what I don't want is poverty. What I don't want, like I'm afraid of not being able to pay my rent, so I'm gonna wish for this job. That's not coming from the heart. That's coming from the head. That's fear. Anytime you have fear, it is coming from the head. What is heart led is when we say, what do I want to feel? I want to feel free. I want to feel joy. Okay, where do I go towards joy? Right? And that doesn't mean we should all, quit our jobs and start making jewelry. It means that we need to like think about, like, joy could be, I feel joy when I connect one-on-one with others. Okay, great. I'm going to move towards work that allows me to connect one-on-one with others. So whatever it may be. So this idea, I've just lost my train of thought as we were talking about this, because I all of a sudden I'm sorry, I know that that's you. I know that is what motivates you most than anybody, is connecting one-on-one with people. And I just got into you, and I totally lost. I went from me to you. So I apologize about that. I lost my train of thought because I was in your train of thought.
Oh, it's really fascinating feeling into how people can connect into angels and what's
Yes,
present.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, okay. So the idea is, number one is to make sure that you are feeling with the heart and going into where do you want to go? And it doesn't have to be perfect. We get really hung up on the idea that we have to make the perfect choice. When in reality, if you have 3 good options, the only thing that will determine which one is best is how much of your energy goes into it. So you make the choice perfect because your energy, you are the creator. You are the one who's directing the life force into that choice. All you have to do is commit yourself to the choice, right? Instead of putting a little bit of your energy there and then saying, I wish I had done this one, or what if I had, what if, it's about, okay, be the team captain. This is where I think I want to go, but I'm open to something better. I'm open to, and then you head down the path. Once you do that, whoosh, your team can come in, your angels can come in and start to serve you and start to help and start to align things and start to show you, okay, when you bump into an obstacle, it doesn't mean I made the wrong path. They're showing you what is it in you that is not allowing you to get to this path. So this is the journey that we go on. It's like we are driving by Braille, and when you hit the bumps in the road, there's something that you need to course correct, right? They're directing you. The more in flow you are, the gentler those bumps are. So then the other huge thing is that we have to say it out loud. We have to speak out loud to our angels. That free will has to be, it's a major rule of the Earth School. Free will must be respected. And so even though they can hear our thoughts, it is not officially proclaimed until we say it out loud. So say it out loud. So I would like help with this. Tell them. The other thing is that angels see everything. They see absolutely everything. And so imagine if you were at a library and you were looking and there was 1 billion volumes in the library, and someone said, which book is the best? And it would be like, well, based on what? How would you choose the best book? So they have access to so much information. If you give them some guidelines and say, you know what, my left knee is bothering me today, or I feel a lot of constriction around, I feel left out today, or I feel, antagonized today. Tell them what's going on with you, and then offer up and ask for healing. Yeah.
Lumen beings, inspired souls, if you're liking this video, don't forget to give it a like and a thumbs up, and don't forget to join in on the conversation. Join us in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. What are you taking away from today's episode? Anne is very active on socials. If you've got some questions for her, you can leave them in the comments below. She might just reply to you, or I can ask those questions of her the next time she comes on the podcast. So join in on the conversation below. You mentioned this word, allow. It's been a deep fascination of mine recently, because I think for a while there, working with surrender, which so much of what you've shared is trust and surrender until this point. And I think, I see them as 2 sides of the same coin. Like if I notice I can't surrender, and then it was like, oh, I can't, like, I'm not surrendering. And it's like, what's actually going on? It's like, oh, you don't trust Amrit. Oh, there's that piece. And then like that actually gives me something workable.
Yes.
And then if it's like,
Yes.
oh, the more I trust, the more I surrender. And it's like, oh, I'm surrendering. Oh, there's a lot of trust in this. I can surrender to this healing because I trust this healer, so on and so forth, touchwood. So to me, they're literally the 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
There's been this piece around like a little steps before we dive into something so deep is like acceptance, sort of on the journey towards surrender. And so acceptance, I've been feeling into that for a while. And the last little while I've noticed that acceptance has this frequency of like, oh, I can accept. And it is quite spiritual. Like I've got acceptance for others. But even as you say acceptance, if you tune into the frequency of the word, I've been finding it has this like low grade tolerance of what's going on over there. It's like I can accept that. It's like that's going on over there. I'm over here. There's a very distinct boundary, and like, I'm able to tolerate that that's happening over there. It's like this acceptance frequency. I'm not sure if I'm overly reading into it, but that's kind of what I feel, right?
Yeah.
And I've then been like tuning into allow and just how much more permeable and open that is. And it's
Yes.
like, whoa, that really steps one into surrender. It's like, and it's uncomfortable to
Yes.
allow certain
Yeah.
things. You look at the world and the things that are going on around us right now, and you're like, allow, like, stop it, Amrit. And it's, you know, and so
Yeah.
you mentioned the word allow, and I think you use that intentionally. You've used it in a few spaces I've seen you online intentionally. Just, I wanted to get your download on allow.
I'm so glad you asked, because it is one of the most consistent, most important messages that we get from the angels, and it is so contrary to what is natural as a human. That when things go wrong, our first response is, what do I do? Is to move into action. And the challenge for us as we are moving into our higher state of consciousness is to understand how we're actually meant to work with energy. That when we are trying to fix something or trying to control something, what we are doing is resisting what is that we put ourselves into polarity with what is, and then we engage in it from a karmic perspective. And we get angry, right? People will say, well, you can't just allow it. You got to fight back. What are we supposed to do? You can't just permit that. Like the things going on in the world, we have to fight it. We have to fight it. When you fight it, it's like the finger cuffs, the more you pull, the more it pulls against you. So it is the more we fight, the more resistance we create. So it is just counterintuitive. We think, I've got to do something. That doing is resistance, and resistance creates more of what is. And it's just pure energy. There's no judgment in it at all. It's literally just trying to understand how our creative apparatus works. So the truth of how our apparatus works, if we want to work with it most effectively to create change in the world, is the idea of both acceptance and surrender. And they are different concepts, and they're both critical. That the acceptance comes in when we understand that as you go through the process of something that is upsetting, any kind of grieving, any kind of loss, anything that you're going through, anything that to you feels wrong in the world, when we can get to the space of understanding acceptance. We think of acceptance meaning you have to like it. You don't have to like it. You just have to acknowledge that it's true. And let this sink in for a minute, because this is like not at all natural for humans. If we understand, so here's the idea. When we are born, we come in here as divine beings. And when something bad happens, we, in our mind and in our subconscious and deep at our soul level, we are like, how could this happen? That's at the bottom. That's the question underneath. How could this have happened to me? How could this be allowed? How could these travesties, this war, this, that, how could it be allowed? Right? It's always that. It's that I am fighting because I can't allow this, because it can't be. Same thing with our own trauma, right? How could this have happened to me? Like, I'm a divine being. How could it happen to me? And then it leads you down the whole path of there's something wrong with me and blah, 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 like all the conclusions we come to. So the path to healing is getting to the space of acceptance, but not in the sense of saying I'm okay with it. It is just saying it's true. Not only is it true, it's not only is it as bad as you think it was, it's worse. It is worse than you're allowing it to be. Like take it in, bring it into your body, be the witness. Be the witness for what is terrible. See it this happened. And the fact is, anything that is happening on this earth is part of all of us. Whatever ugliness there is inside of every single one of us. And so we have to come to the space of acknowledging it, of seeing it, of being the witness, of observing it without judgment. Just acknowledge, all you got to do, it's true. So if we can get to that, acknowledge to ourselves, then we allow our pain. If we say, this really happened to you, this is really happening to the world, we allow our pain to surface. We're no longer fighting the pain, trying to hold it back, trying to push it down. trying to resist the pain, right? We let the pain come forward. So this is the allowing. We are the witness and we allow. We grieve. And then in that moment, as we allow our emotions to come through, this is the surfacing. This rises up. It comes into the light, right? The light is the healing, right? It's seen by God as my word. Please use yours. It's seen by divinity. And as that comes, as it's witnessed, it feels just like, imagine how you feel when you've had a really bad day and someone looks you in the eyes and says, you've had a really bad day. You must be exhausted. How it's just, yes, I feel seen. Like I no longer have to carry this. I feel acknowledged. My truth has been accepted. Like that's the release. So we have to accept, but maybe just change the word accept, because accept feels like I'm willing to allow this to continue. That's not it. It is accept that it's true. Then allow the feelings to rise, right? And then we get to that space. So here's what's magic about when we get to this space. If we're able to do this, we have reached the place of stillness. And this is the place where the mother of creation is so important. This is why she's come through at this time. This is that when we are in the place of stillness, we call the stillness the shadow, the shade, the all the stuff we're trying to hide, right? That's where our wounds are. We call it the shadow. In fact, the stillness is the most potent creative potential you could imagine. It is all of creative power is there, and it's in the stillness. And you have to have the stillness. Imagine it this way. Imagine that we are out in the world, and imagine that you are in a beautiful bay that's a beautiful blue water, and you're swimming away, and you as the creator are like, I'm going to make something. So you're splashing away on the top of the water, and you're making a great big mess of water. Everything's splashy, right? And you're making lots of water, lots of waves, right? But what happens if you stop trying so hard and you just get to the stillness? When you sit still in that water, all of a sudden the surface turns to glass and you see through it and you see down to what's underneath and you realize, oh my gosh, there's all this life and potential down there, right? That I couldn't even see. And that's the stillness. So when we get to this process, right? When we accept that it is true, when we allow the emotions to come forward, right? We get into this space of stillness. We're no longer fighting. We're no longer splashing. All of a sudden, we see infinite potential inside of us. And from that space, we create the new earth.
Yeah, I really want to find out more about what the mother of creation has to share with us. But it's about the allow, which, yeah, I mean, I think people, maybe I'll just speak from experience. I remember I used to think that just bringing a whole witness to certain parts of me, there was a resistance in there because the egoic mind, the structured mind, thought that that was just step one. And that after witnessing, I'd have to then exercise this and then exercise that and then reformat this and reformat that and reprogram this and reprogram that. That was step 1 of 10. And it was quite profound as I started diving deeper into the spiritual arts. It's like, oh, actually witnessing is all there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's like it's the first and last step you got to do, bro. And I was like, what? It's quite debasing for the mind to be like, and then what do I do? And it's like, you do nothing, bro. Just be.
Stop doing. That's what you do. You stop doing.
I mean, you sharing everything that was being invited to allow, like I can understand why the mind trembles in the face of all of that allowing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
There's so much in there.
Terrifying.
And then yet there's this, instead of, and I couldn't help but hear in the back of my head this, we like that quote, I'm going to butcher it, but it's kind of like, you never solve the problem from the frequency of the problem. You solve the problem, from a different frequency, from a different level of thought. And as you were sharing that, I was like, yeah, very much like if we can have the gusto, and it sounds so, but if you can have the gusto to allow and then sort of rise above, and I know how glib that sounds when I say that, but you know what I mean? Allow and then sort of rise above, and from that sort of higher perspective, be like, okay, and then now what? Like from that space, create from that deep well of understanding. I mean, it's quite profound.
And think
Yeah.
about that idea of being in the water, splashing all around. What that is us being in the moment, but trying very hard to address the moment using all of the tools, vocabulary, lessons, information, and history that came from the past. So it is taking what used to be, including us, who we used to be before we were healed, before it's us from past lives, it's us from when we were 5, and taking those and bringing them into the present moment and trying to solve. So we're dragging all of our junk into the present moment. Whereas if we get to stillness, then we leave all of that behind and we are willing to create in the moment now from who you are today, from everything you've learned, from every place you've grown, right? You're creating just from that.
That's really trippy because kind of how I'm hearing it is motion has a certain type of memory attached to it, and stillness sheds certain things. It's like
Yeah.
a bit energetic, but it's quite profound what you're sharing as it's landing at my end. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit more about this now portal because for me, studied 6 months with Eckhart Tolle, incredible time in my life. And I mean, I've had these moments where, being a student of the power of now and sort of coming up against the now moment, almost like I don't want to describe it this way, but it's my experience was like I remember going like tunk 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 like okay, I'm in the now, but like there's also like I'm in a bubble, like and it was interesting because you sort of not to say that, and then, things have evolved since then, but I remember that moment. And you teach the now is not this destination just to arrive at and then all like tung tung, I'm here, I've landed. It's actually like a portal
Yeah.
that from there things open up. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to get your download around there for a moment because I think that's quite profound.
Yeah, it is how do we, being within that space, how do we move differently? How do we come into that space? How are we navigating that space? Are we moving from the heart? So in the new higher state of consciousness, once we get there, and people will be starting to feel pieces of this now. Many people may feel like they're kind of moving a little bit towards it, down, towards it, down, towards it, down. But we can't actually shift until the earth shifts. And that will come. The angel said it will come when it's coming from a flash of light that's coming from the same sun that birthed us, that came from us. The mother of creation birthed us in combination with the sun. And so a flash of light that is solar energy is coming, and that will give us enough energy for the whole earth to kind of do this great big movement. But but in this process, we are sort of, moving, we're in the process of kind of moving in and out. And I lost my train of thought again. I'm sorry. I keep moving into your experience. I don't, that doesn't usually happen, but I think it's like we're on a wavelength and I'm sorry about
Well, that's
that.
that's good. Yeah, you were talking about the flash of light
Yeah.
because,
And
yeah,
your
you were
question,
guiding
remind me your
into
question.
my question was the portal that is the now moment.
Oh yeah, about what to do within the now. So the idea is that, so as we are kind of going through this experience, we are beginning to lean into what it is to be the new human. What is it to live like in that space? So when you are in the now, the idea is to let the world rise up from inside of you, let it kind of rise up, and you are riding on top of the wave, trying to work in the present moment all the time. But it is from the place of stillness. So the key is that it is that being very, very heart led, letting yourself work together with your guides, not being so like what we have always been, which is very controlling. Like the human response when things are unknown, we tend to try to get answers. Like a lot of us will say, okay, I don't want to take a step until I have an answer. In a perfect world, we will become, in the new state of consciousness, we will become absolutely comfortable in the unknown. It'll be like, imagine this. Imagine that you are driving and you see a road going off to the left, and it's not on any map. It's not on your Google Maps, nothing. And you don't know what's down there. You can't look ahead for any restaurants and see which one has the highest Google rating, like none of that. All it is a road going somewhere. And imagine and we don't do this anymore in our life. We never have beginner's mind anymore, ever. ever, right? Whenever we go anywhere, we always know we can actually go online and watch a travel vlog showing us all the places we're going to visit in person before we get there. Like there's no new experiences anymore. So imagine this, you turn down a road and you have to travel down it and you don't know where you're going until you get there. And only in retrospect do you understand. And the key, they said, is to stop trying to understand it, experience it, be like a baby. Be like the baby that's like, what is this? I'll stick it in my mouth and see what it is. I don't know. but it is that idea of trying to be in the state of working with our reality without all the junk from our past. So this is how to kind of step into creating the new earth, is to try to come at it from the perspective of beginner's mind. And so the angels say, what's a practical step we can do? Start exercising your beginner's mind. Start doing things you don't know how to do. Get comfortable with not knowing and being in the space of being a beginner again. So pick up a new skill. Like maybe you learn to do something that really throws you off. Maybe it's learning a new language where you don't even know where to start. Become a visitor in your own town. Go to restaurants you've never been to. Make it fun. It should always be fun. But try to get back into beginner's mind. Get out of your comfort zone, and that puts us back into the state of heading down that open road where we're getting out of the head and into the heart, because of the fact that we're not coming into this with a set of expectations that limit our experiences. Like when we come into it with expectations, we put a box around what we're willing to perceive, and we say, I will only perceive what's inside this box. And so everything that's new, that's unknown, that's the brand new world that we are trying to create, we literally can't see it because we are looking for what we've seen in the past. So if you think about this, think about if you've ever bought a car, if you've ever made a really big purchase of any kind, could be a pair of expensive shoes, a handbag, a car, whatever it is, before you buy it, you never see them. As soon as you buy that car, you drive around and those cars are everywhere. All of a sudden you see them, they're like on every corner, right? And it is because your perceptive lens, we filter our perception to match our internal reality. So it's like we will only see the things we are expecting to see. And so that's like a confirmation bias where we're confirming we're seeking out in our reality for things that confirm our experience. But what it means is that means that car has been there all along. It's always been there. We just never saw it. And that's the lesson. And that as we're stepping into the new earth and we're trying to create something different from what has been, we need to be ready to see it. And we're only going to see it if we're in beginner's mind.
That brings a lot of things together. I mean, I'm quite surprised we've made it this far into the podcast and not talked about this flash of light when most other podcasts featuring yourself start there. So, I mean, we should probably at some point address the elephant in the room, the flash of light that's coming from the sun. Yeah, I mean, I think the hard part for me is where do we even begin? Like, there's a flash of light. Is it follow? Am I right in interpreting that there's some days of darkness that will follow? What? Yeah, I don't really.
Yeah.
I just want to have.
Yeah. So the flash of light is good. A lot of people worry about there's a flash of light. Like some people, is it nuclear? No, it's not. It's not nuclear. It's a solar. The angels were very clear. It's a solar flash of light. It comes from a sun.
But not from our sun.
They
right?
said our sun, but I don't know if it means the sun in our galaxy or the sun, like if it's like the great central sun. I don't know which sun. They haven't said. They just said it's the same sun that we are from. And so, and I know, and that's a whole nother story about my experience with the mother of creation and a sun, which is like, that's a whole story, which is awesome. But, it's a solar energy. And they did clarify just recently that it will come when we are ready for it. That when we have reached a level of, and I believe we are at the tipping point. I believe and the angels have said we make it. Like they see the future because there is no time. And they say, yep, you guys are going to make it. Like, don't worry, you're going to get there. So now it's just like, okay, when, and for them, like there is no time. Like they know we are impatient. They're not impatient. They're like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's happening. But anyways, it's coming from a sun. And it could even be Betelgeuse. I don't know if we came from Betelgeuse. Some people think it's that because that was like a supernova sun. I have no idea. I just know it is the sun, the same sun that our souls are from. So, okay. So then this energy comes to the planet. They described it as rainbow starlight. And what the visual I got as they were describing that was like almost like little zzz in the air. Like I can't even like little, like little, like little, like tiny little, like almost like the Tesla ball where it's like a little zzz over here and a zzz, and then like rainbowy colors, you know what I mean? But it's like the air feels electrified. The air, like it is unmistakable. And what they said when the first time they talked about this, they said, the flash of light, it will be the moment that we look back on and say that everything changed. All of humanity will look back on that moment and say that is the moment that everything changed. So this will be unmistakable. And they said it will affect the entire earth. It doesn't matter if you are down 3 floors into a basement, doesn't matter. It will soak through the earth. So, and they said it's available, the energy is available to everyone. That it is not harmful to anyone. They said the only thing that is harmful is our own resistance. That this is a powerful energy, and if we resist it, that will cause us harm because we will be harming ourselves. So it's like anyway, what resistance means is if the flash of light comes and we say, well, wait a minute, I kind of want things to be the way they were. What if the flash of light comes and you are in the middle of med school and you've invested tons of energy in this and you're like, I really want to finish. Like, I'm not ready. Flash of light has to wait because I want to go finish med school. That's going to hurt, right? Like maybe med school isn't meant to happen right now. I don't know. It's just an example. But my point being, if we are turning around, and so this is to me, it's amazing to me when I see stuff and I was not raised in any religion. I am definitely not a religious scholar. I know just enough to get myself in trouble, but I know there's a story. I know there's a story in the Bible about these people leaving, like, I don't know, Sodom or Gomorrah, or I don't know where, leaving someplace that the whoever is talking to them, I don't know if it's God, says like, don't turn around or you'll turn into a pillar of salt. And like one person turns around and turns. So I think that is a metaphor they could have understood in that time period for this, that it is this idea of don't turn around as you are leaving, moving into a new state of consciousness. If we are turning around trying to claim, we're not going to turn into salt. But the fact is that we are turning our back on the energy, and that's going to feel painful. It's going to feel like loss. It's going to feel like all the things we don't want. Whereas, yes, there will be loss involved. The world is changing, and humans, which is hilarious, humans hate change. This is what the angels tell us. We are change. Humans are the frequency of change. That is what we are. We literally walk into a room and we change it. We are change. And we hate change. So and they see the humor in that too. They laugh about it all the time. They're like, don't you guys get it? You are the change. You are it. So we are terrified of change. We do everything we can to resist change, which is resisting ourselves. And so the challenge is, as this happens, is that we will experience loss, but anything we lose is something we do not need. That if we are willing to let it go, have our grief, be the witness to what is lost, like be the witness, recognize it's true, feel the pain of it, whatever it is. If it's painful, let the pain come up, allow the pain, right? Accept the truth of it, allow the pain, get to the space of stillness, and then magic will happen. And the angel said that during this period that's coming, where we are going to go through, and we have been going through increasingly, right? Increasingly, the world is speeding up. And this is continuing. That they said that the angels more and more will be able to perform miracles, that they will step in. Oh my gosh, Amrit, I have to tell you a story that is so beautiful. So I had from the angels, I usually channel Thursday night and then I share my message on YouTube Friday. And they came in one night and they gave me a message, and it was basically saying, we can create miracles for you. They basically said when things, if something happens, we will be able to do literally, like if you're in the middle and a tidal wave is coming, we will bubble you in gold and you will be fine. Like they can create, and they're saying this in the message. It's like they didn't say that about the tidal wave, but basically the idea was we can
Right.
as we're going through this chaos, they can intervene. They will be able to help us in material ways should we need it. So I get the message, but I'm always foggy about it on Thursday night because I'm in my right brain. I kind of have a general idea of what it's about, but it's not really landing yet because I don't understand it until the next day I go in and I put the punctuation in and I analyze it. And that's when I get the message is Friday morning. And because that's when I understand it. But anyways, I knew it was something about that. And I am a skeptic. And I'm very logical. And so they're saying this. I'm like, oh, isn't that sweet? Wouldn't that be nice if that was true? All right. That's my inner thought process. Wouldn't that be nice if that was true? Rather than accepting, right? Rather than trusting, oh, that's so beautiful. I wish that was true. And so I go out to dinner that night and I'm walking by this little boutique and it's a beautiful store. I would normally never go in, but for whatever reason, I felt compelled to go in just to touch the fabrics. They're Italian. It's beautiful. And there's these two lovely women in there. And they did the only thing that was going to get me to stay in that store, which is that they said, hey, we've got a 40% off rack back here. And they bring me behind the register and they wheel out the rack of like the forbidden 40% off rack. So I stay and I'm chatting with them. And the woman says, what do you do? And I say, I channel angels. And she gets very quiet and she says, I saw an angel once. And of course, she's got my attention now. And same with her coworker, because she's never told the story to anyone. She's been working with that coworker for like 15 years. The coworker has never heard the story. She says, I saw an angel once. She says, when she moved to this country, she was coming from France. She had a newborn infant with her. She got stopped at customs and missed her connecting flight. And she's there in the airport. It's late at night. The airport is starting to shut down and she has nowhere to go. And she can't get another flight until the morning. And she's there with a newborn and she says she has $10 in her wallet and she doesn't know what to do. And literally like the restaurants are pulling down the gates, like nothing. There's nowhere she can go, nothing she can do. And so she's exhausted, she's tired, she's scared. She sits down on the ground in front of one of the ticketing gates and she just starts nursing her baby. And after a few moments, this woman comes over, one of the ticketing gate agents, and she says, are you okay? What's going on? And she says, she tells her the story, like, I'm stuck. I don't know what I'm going to do. And the woman says, come with me. I'll help you. And she leads her back to the ticketing area. And she goes in the back. She comes out with a big stack of papers and she says, here is a voucher for a shuttle bus that will take you to this hotel. Here is a voucher for a free night in the hotel. Here is a voucher to get you back in the morning. And then here is your rebooked flight for tomorrow's first flight back to where you need to go. And she totally takes care of her. And the woman is like so happy. She's sobbing. She reaches down to gather her stuff, pick up her baby. She gets back up to say thank you. And she can't find the woman. She's gone somewhere. So she goes to the hotel, has a beautiful evening. Everything's great. She comes back in the morning and she hands over her ticket to get on the plane. And the woman says, who ran this ticket for you? And she says, oh, the gate agent that was here last night. And she describes her. She has short gray hair. She's wearing the uniform. And the woman said, there was no one here at 11 o'clock last night. And there's no one that works here that fits that description. She had an angel. An angel came to her and took care of her and gave her exactly what she needed in that moment. And here's what is incredible is she is sharing the story with me right at the moment that I needed to hear it, right? I had just channeled a message telling me that miracles were possible. And I was having a hard time letting that sink in. So I have this experience where she shares her story with me. And then I can come back and I can embody the message, right? I can feel the message the way I need to be able to share it properly. Isn't that incredible?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Just what that. Yes, absolutely. And I mean, the interconnectedness of it all, the stories that we're all living and how we're weaving, and even just there's this poetic sort of lesser format to all of this, which is, I don't want to say lesser, pardon me for that, because, yeah, words escape when you're at these depths. But, even just how much we are all angels on each other's paths as well, like this lady, the blessing that she unlocked for you.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and you holding the frequency that you do around the awareness of angels for her to be able to open up and share that experience for her.
Yeah.
Like, just and then her coworker, which is just, fly on a wall, but then, everything that's opening up and shifting within her, like,
Yeah.
and how I don't wanna say mundane, but like 3D Lee,
Yeah. Yeah.
these experiences sort of come together. It's like, "Hey, here's another rack." It's
Yes.
like, "Okay,"
Yeah,
and
exactly. And
a
I
portal.
had to buy a sweater. I bought a really nice
Like
sweater. After that, I'm like, "Yes, I will buy it."
When it rains, it pours. The blessings keep on coming.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, it's really fascinating. And when you were mentioning the flash of light and these scintillating sort of electric Tesla balls, I couldn't help but feel in our bathroom upstairs we have this like we have this the ray of light sort of comes in the afternoon, and you can see the dust particles sort of filtering
Yeah.
through the dust, and I was
Yeah.
sort of seeing like rainbow, like larger balls, rainbow light, and it's fascinating to feel how alchemical the whole thing feels for the earth and for us
Yeah.
and everything. Because you said, like, doesn't matter how deep below the earth you are, it's literally through the fabric of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite fascinating to feel into, as to what's happening, and your recommendation to sort of slow down and just, everything that you thought was isn't going to be, and it's going to be this seismic shift moving into where we're headed. I mean, there's been a few moments through this podcast, the mother of creation. You mentioned there was a story there, the mother of creation, the sun. And is it okay to ask you about it? Is it going to
Oh,
be super long?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. It was wild. It was so one of the first times I channeled her again, like I was telling you, I had the vision of Yeshua leaving. She took so it was that same experience. It happened two times where she gave me these incredibly deep, deep, deep experiences of her. When the first few times I let her in, and after that, she brought me out into space, and I was in space with her. It was like space. It was like nothing. There was nothing in space. Like if I looked far away, there was like a couple little stars, but there was hardly anything in space. It was weird. Like I knew I was in space, but there wasn't very much in it. It was early days of space. And like, I don't know what that is, but it was.
Space Peter.
Right. Exactly. 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 And I could feel what it was to be her. And she was a consciousness, she was a being, she was definitely feminine energy, but she was not yet creative. And the way that she would understand things was by merging with them. So almost like you think of like an amoeba, like kind of comes over something and incorporates it, and it becomes that thing. Right. And it's still itself, but it takes that into itself and understands it. So that was how she would relate to things, would be by merging with them. And so she sees, I'm become aware because I'm feeling her, what it is to be her. And she is aware of the presence of the divine all of a sudden there present, like in the space of space with her. Like all of a sudden God is there. And she's like, yes, I know God is here. And she's like kind of like not really looking. And she sees God brings a sun over like closer to her. And the sun is kind of on the horizon. And it's just a glowing ball of energy, a sun. And so first she's kind of trying to ignore it. And then she's like, well, okay, fine, I'll just go merge with it. And then then I'll know what it is. So she goes to it and she merges with it like she does with everything. But the challenge this time is that and I see it through her perspective, as she merges with the sun, she realizes that there are some aspects of the sun that she can never merge with, specifically 5 things. And I don't know what the 5 are. I could look inside and I could see 5 little dots. And it was like, you can't merge 100% with this energy. You can only merge partly. You can merge with a lot of it, but there's a part of it that will always be other, which creates polarity, right? You can connect, but you are separated. So this is what creative power is. It is polarity. So she's in this energy of the sun, and I see it as if, and at this point she's in my body, and I'm seeing it like it's like I'm taking my hands, I'm her, and I'm pulling the energy up, and it's like golden area, and it's like raining through my hands, and it's this incredible creative force, and I realize it becomes part of her. And this is who she is now. She has this creative energy, the sun, in her, and she becomes the mother of creation. She has the ability to birth souls. So then God, when he is creating souls, he creates them through her. because she has this creative power. And so her whole existence is about like, imagine the ultimate, like that scene I saw in the beginning of her releasing Yeshua, knowing what he was going to. It is infusing, so she creates our soul song, right? And gives us, she names us basically our soul song. And then she has to release us. And so it is allowing and letting go and releasing, right? It is the ultimate in infinite compassion and love. That love is that we in freedom, like we are given freedom. She literally gives us the complete autonomy, releases us to be our own existence. And there's great pain in that, but also great love in that. And so this is her experience. And at the end, as we go through our spiral of learning about ourselves, and spiral of growth, we get to a place where we're ready to kind of shift into a higher state of being. We can return to her for renewal. And then she changes or expands our soul song and rebirths us. So it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But so here's what's crazy about that. So I have this vision of her and I don't really understand because she's not telling me, I'm just experiencing it. I see the sun, I see the thing that's different. I didn't understand about the creative power. I'm just like, why the 5 and what's with, I didn't get it, And so then, so then later, and she was kind of with me the rest of that day. She was kind of speaking to me. I was aware of her presence. And I just was like, I don't really understand. And she, all of a sudden, I was in the shower actually. She took my arms and she lifted them up above my body and she held them like this above my head, with this position, with my hands out, holding like my wrist like this, like I'm supporting something, a sun above them, right? So as if I was holding the sun above my head. And then she says the word Isis. So I didn't know anything about Isis, but she is made up, like all the legends of Earth, many of them, like of divine feminine energy, refer back to her. So I immediately get out of the shower. I start Googling stories about Isis, like who is Isis? What about Isis? Like all that kind of stuff. And I immediately find a story about how Isis gained the power of Ra. And she never became Ra. She didn't become the sun. She gained Ra's name. And by just like she absorbed the power of Ra and became creative. And that was the story. So that was how I understood that what happened with the sun, it was about gaining the creative power of the sun.
Profound.
Right? Yeah.
Like, I know this is like collapsing it down quite a bit, but like even just with visualizing them as two sort of Venn diagrams of like two overlapping, like it might be a bit of a stretch, but like feminine and masculine forces, the sun, like you said,
Yes.
Ra, Isis, the
Yes.
mother of creation. And it's so fascinating to feel into that there is so much overlap. And yet, like we don't need to know what the 5 are, but like that there are just 5 points, like, and I imagine there's like hundreds of points of overlap. But there are
Yeah.
just 5 points where there's like, there's just this space where it's like, and you're not meant to know. And that creates just enough sort of sparks. I don't want to call it friction, but just enough sparks
Yes.
to sort of
Yes.
actually create juice of creation and the exploration that flows through. I mean, I'm fascinated for what's next. I mean, even just for yourself following along on the YouTube channel, because like you said, the angels and now the mother of create. I mean, that's probably a great place to sort of for people to tune in. What's the best way for people to tune in and to keeping more in touch with what's coming through with yourself?
Thank you so much for asking. Yeah, you can always find me on YouTube. Everything is under my name, just to keep it simple. So it's Ann with an E. Ann Tucker is on YouTube, and then my website is also Ann Tucker, AnnTucker.com.
And you have these is it a monthly peace bathing that yeah, is it a monthly? Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I love peace bathing. Peace bathing it's a once a month healing program that is, especially if someone is looking for, if they don't yet have a regular healing practice or if they want to expand their healing practice. It's a lovely session with the angels, and then often the mother of creation steps in as well, and they help us they raise our frequency up into the vibration of peace. And it's cool because people frequently have physical experiences of the angels during these sessions. They feel them in their bodies. Crazy things happen where the angels, it's like the angels are speaking right to them, where the words that come out are the thing that the person asked for. And it's just amazing. So each person is in their way, having their own unique experience with the angels, even though it's a group session. But then people are meant to take the message is designed to help us navigate the energies that are coming to the planet right now. So the idea is that you have the meditation once a month. Use that meditation all month long as part of your healing practice. So whatever happens during life, if you go out, if you get triggered that day, something happens, you're having a bad day, you bring those feelings, that emotion into your session with the recording. You do it, and it opens a portal between you and the angels, and you use it to help you heal. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll put also a link to your like what's coming next, the guide for navigating the shifts that are coming through at this time as
The
well,
book. Thank
in the
you.
description
And that's
below.
on
So I'll put
Amazon.
links to all of that. And as we sort of come out to a close, just a couple of small questions. They're not, by the way. Yeah, I've they've sort of been with me through this whole like at this time. I mean, actually, I'll just reflect on something because there was a point many few steps ago where you talked about the angels are always with you and we're growing into telepathy, and there's going to be more and more of this like collective sense. The epidemic that is loneliness at this particular moment in time,
Yes.
is so profound. And I just wanted to shine a light on that sharing and just double click on it for a sec because I think it gives a lot of people a lot of heart. A lot of people are feeling the loneliness at this particular moment. So I just wanted to shine a ray on that. That wasn't really my question, but I just wanted to honor that in this podcast. The two questions I've got is at this particular moment, and you can pick whichever order. Like this happens to be coming through at this particular moment in time. Like, what is it about this particular moment in time? What is the biggest message that you think the angels are bringing through for us right now? And what is the biggest message of the mother of creation right now? And why at this particular time is this happening? Does that all make sense?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
Small question.
yeah. I mean, because we could do a whole nother podcast just on that question because there's so much there.
If you don't mind, I'd love to.
I'm game. I love it.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Cliff Notes version, maybe, if you feel. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say if I had to give a like to kind of, I would say with the angels, the feeling I always get with the angels is that they're right here. Like they're in, like I can tune into your angel right now. And I can, if you want, do you want to feel your angel? You want to do it?
I'm game.
Okay. So I'm going to come into your body. Are you ready? You want to do this? Are you good with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
So let me just see if I can come into your body with your permission. And so, all right. So now I'm coming into your heart space and I'm expanding my energy inside of your energy. Can you feel that?
I feel something.
So don't worry. It frequently will feel like warmth or rising, could feel like a chill, could feel sometimes like heat. So let me just go ahead and move down your spinal column, down into your lower back is a little bit sore. So let's bring some energy down into your lower back and just bring a little angelic healing into that space. And into your lower digestive system as well. And we're just going to bring some light in. And so as you're filling up with light, just take a nice deep breath. And this time as you exhale, exhale from the rear of your rib cage, push out from the back as you exhale. And now I'm just going to ask your angels to touch your right hand. And just be open to that experience. You may feel it as a tingling, a pressure, a coolness. And at the fingertips, they're touching fingertips with you now. And there you go. Can you feel it? It's
It's
okay.
something
What?
it's super subtle, but yeah, there's not gonna be words to be able to describe that, to be honest.
So if you go back and listen to that again, each time you do it, it will open that connection again, and you can practice it and you'll feel it more and more palpably each time you do it. So that's the thing that they did to my vocal cords when they worked on my vocal cords, is it allows my vocal cords to transmit frequencies. So each time you use a recording where I'm communicating with the angels, it opens a portal between you and the angels. So you can go back and just to that one section we just did, you can listen to it again and you can do it again. And then each time you do it, you will feel it a little bit more.
Wow, thank you so much. That
Yeah,
is
fun, right?
yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you for such a gift.
You're so
Uh,
welcome.
so is the main message connection potentially at this point? Is that like we're here?
So
That's
yeah, so
big
this
for
yeah,
emphasis
so the
for
main message
you.
I would say, yeah, the main message for the angels is just infinite loving presence. The angels are infinite loving presence. And that is
Mm,
for them, we talk about being the witness. They help us by adding presence to everything we create, everything we touch, everything we are. They add divine presence to it. So it's like giving us permission in a way to exist, like not in the
just
sense that we want or that we need permission. We don't
mm,
need permission, but they are granting it. They're saying you exist, right? We give you our presence, we give you our attention. That they are the essentially they are divine presence, as they are the light of the divine, we are the spark of the divine. So when they bring that light to us, it's like shining the eyes of God onto you. And so that is what they bring to us. And so it is that idea of giving presence to everything we create. They put everything into the light of God. So it's beautiful. So it's very much that sense of like being with us on our entire journey of creating this reality and working through everything we create to infuse it with divine presence.
there was a question that I had was, I just wanted a moment for just in line to that is I know sort of but people feel like they're gonna be taking up too much space by asking an angel for blessings. Like, an angel's busy, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, have you felt that frequency from people before?
I do, yeah, am I worthy? It's the worthiness, right? Yeah. What I would say is one of the things about angelic beings is that, as I was saying, they are the light of the divine, we are the spark of the divine. They see us as an aspect of God. Is that and we have something that what we do, so they are presence, divine presence, but what we carry from the divine is the ability to create our reality from inside of us. Angels don't do that. Angels can create stuff. Like they could say, okay, I need to make a microphone. I'm going to make a microphone. But an angel
Mm,
doesn't walk into a room and then the room starts to reflect the angel. That doesn't happen. That's human. That's what we
wow,
are. That's what the part of the divine that we carry. We carry the ability to create things in our own image, just like God does. So that is what they see when an angel sees us. It doesn't matter how imperfect we are. It doesn't matter what choices we make or what chaos we go through. Even for our poor guardian angel who has to follow us through every escapade we come up with, they're right there with us, but they don't mind because they are so drawn to that part of God that we're carrying. It's just like we are drawn to God. Angels are drawn to that part of God that we carry. They are the guardian of the divine that's inside of us. So the key in talking to your angel is to not put them on a pedestal, because they say that when you do that, you're never eye to eye with something you put on a pedestal. It puts distance between you and the angel. They want to be your closest, dearest friend. They want to be, yes, always treated with respect and always treated with love and kindness, but they want you to relate to them as equals, to love them as equals, as your closest friend.
wow. Thank you so much for that. And the mother of creation, what do you think her biggest message for
Yeah.
us at
Oh,
this
she's easy. She is all about infinite compassion and freedom, right? Is allowing us, releasing us, the freedom of will, freedom of choice, infinite compassion. And then her energy is about renewal. So she is, you think about the divine feminine energy of the earth and how it is that the soil, everything renews from the soil. That's very mother of creation. So she's all about renewal, infinite compassion, and freedom. And she gifts us that idea that she creates us and lets us go. And then everything we create, she gets to experience. So she has that experience of what we create. But it's totally up to us. She has no influence in that, right? She completely lets us go and lets us use that energy that she gave us, which is part of her, however we want to.
Renewed, connected, blessed.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this incredible, well, is it a conversation? Is it a transmission? I mean, this podcast. And I mean, I can absolutely thank you for your time and energy here today. But it pales in comparison to, I guess, just it's so obvious that this is your life's work and, the path that you're on. And, you know, we discussed some of it earlier in the podcast, like how much trust and surrender you've had to afford yourself. And it's easy to talk about it. But I mean, when you're living it, day to day, 6 month stints, 12 month stints, so I just want to thank you for you.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much
much.
for
That is
the
so
way you
sweet.
carry yourself and the work you're carrying. It's just such a blessing to receive.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm receiving that. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is so much fun. This is a great conversation. I love it. We were connecting so much. I kept accidentally going into your experience, which I'd lose my train of thought. And that doesn't usually happen. So, so it was just a lot of fun for me.
And yeah, if you're open to it, I'd love to have you back on in the future.
Beautiful. I'm coming. You bet it.
When you mentioned you don't do one-on-ones anymore, is it mostly what do you like, what are the formats in which people gather around? Yeah.
Yeah, so my main program is called Soul Convergence, and it's an incredibly intense program. It's a you work on your deepest trauma that goes really from in the womb up until age 7. It's the stuff that
Yes.
really forms the majority of our karma. And
Sexuality. Yeah.
yeah, and it's a process that in it we're working with your dreams. So I have certified dream analysts that are using the system that I learned that I use.
Mm.
That is and I didn't create it. A friend of mine actually created it, but it's like spot on. And then
Mm.
you have recorded meditations that you go through every week. You go through every 4 days. You switch to the next one, but they're intense. They're deep. As much as like what you just felt, this is 50 times X that. They're
Oh,
very
oh,
intense.
oh,
So a lot
oh.
coming up. So it's a very involving process. And
Mm.
you go through the first section is and it's all about balancing the masculine and feminine energies. The idea being trying to reintegrate all aspects of yourself so that you can connect fully to your higher self. So you start off on the masculine perspective. We always start with the masculine because the masculine lifts up and supports the feminine. So we start on with masculine energy, but we do masculine energy from the masculine perspective and feminine energy from the masculine perspective. And that's one segment. Then we go into the next segment, which is from the feminine perspective, masculine and
Mm.
from the feminine perspective. But it's the results have been incredible. Like we have physical healings. We have people who've had hearing restored. We have people who have ailments restored, like healed, like stuff like that. But it's the biggest thing. What most people get is like a deep sense of inner peace. We have people who were agoraphobic who now go outside. I mean, it's
Oh,
it's
that
major.
yeah.
It's major healing happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is in person or does it work online? How does it
So the majority of the program, like the bulk of the healing happens in the recordings, but I also do live sessions as blessings that we go through, and the blessings are specific to the energies you're in right now. And so those are all on Zoom. And then
Oh,
each person that's
that's
in
so
it,
nice.
yeah, each person that's in it gets their own soul convergence guide who meets with them one on one to make sure that they are following like it. They help them to see what's cool is you'll be able to see the progress you're making in your dreams. Because one of the challenges I find is when people do healing, if they're not sensitive to energy, some people get discouraged. They're like, is it working? What's happening? This way they will see the progress. They will be able to watch it in their dreams. Or if they don't dream, we can help them see it in their reality, show them what they're going through and how they're progressing. so that
Yeah.
people, so that the brain comes along. We want the heart to lead, but the brain wants to come along for the ride.
Yeah, good to know. Good to know. Because it's always just as a coach and a mentor, I see lots of different people coming in for different things. It's just nice to know
Yeah.
some resources for people on their path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is by far the most uh significant thing I've ever done. There's no question. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it is moving from where I used to work to this kind of work. It's been so insanely gratifying. Like you should just
Nice.
like, yeah, it's been an amazing ride. Absolutely amazing. The thing with soul convergence is all of the energy still flows through my system. So with that particular one, so I still have to, we have to limit how many people can go in it because I have to process all the energy. With the mother of creation healings, that's the reason why they brought in this other healing. With that, I could do 60,000 people at once and it won't tax me. With the soul convergence, I have to cap it at 150 people or I'm toast.
So
So
you're like, you don't have any trepidation, or you've got enough tools under, like, running other people's energetics through your body, like, doesn't phase you? Like, you just, like,
yeah, well, I'm not actually running, I'm running the energy of the angels through my body. So it's that's what's, and so the angels then work with the people, but all of that energy has to flow through me. So and so that's the challenge is what is my capacity to hold, and the energy that comes in for healing is really intense. But
Yeah.
the mother of creation
You're
healing works
okay holding
totally
it?
differently. What?
You're okay interfacing with that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like I struggled at different times. Like when there was a time when, so I went from doing one-on-one sessions to doing group sessions, and then I was doing this program called the Golden Circle, where I was working very intensely with a small group of people, and then at one point the angel said, "Stop doing that." And I didn't want to stop because it was my primary source of income. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll just cut it back and do it half as much. And then they gave me the next thing, and I started the next thing, and I hadn't let go of the old thing. And I way overdid it. And I was so exhausted, I had to sleep between sessions. It was like, I literally was like, what can I do to free up energy? And I started intermittent fasting, which made it so that I could stay awake during the day. But I learned my lesson is like to do what they say. Like if they don't tell me what to do, but they suggest. And I guess if I don't do it, I suffer. But just because they are reading my energy and telling me like, this is how you're meant to work with this. But the beautiful thing about the mother of creation healings is that I couldn't do it in the beginning because I had to clear out my heart chakra 100%. I had dreams where I'm sweeping the dust bunnies out of the garage, and garage is a symbol for the heart. And I'm literally like every little bit had to be out of there. And it took me a lot of work to get there. But once that was cleared, then now what happens when I can do them, and when I do this usually at events, is I will bring in the mother of creation, and then and my heart becomes a portal. And what's crazy, I was in Sedona, and I was a speaker in Sedona, and I did the mother of creation healing, and I didn't tell people that my heart becomes a portal and they move through it and they go to her. But two people came up and they saw it. They were like, your heart became a portal. I'm like, it was super cool that they saw it without me telling them. Yeah. And but they come through me, through my heart, to her, and she goes through the energy of renewal and helps them to basically, like it can restore. I mean, like the potential, I'm just starting to work with this healing modality, but the potential is amazing. Yeah.
Inspired soul, lumen beings, thank you so much for tuning in to this incredible episode. Obviously, you've made it all the way through to the end, so don't forget to like this video because obviously you do like it. It gives us permission to share it around online a little bit better. And also, I want to take a moment once again to thank all of you that are subscribed to this channel. Everything you see around here is powered and empowered by your subscription to this channel. Thank you so much for your incredible love and support. And to all of you that haven't yet subscribed, please don't forget, there's a subscribe button just below there. It's lighting up in the colors of the Inspired Evolution. As I'm saying the word subscribe, please do take a moment. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon. Join the movement championing love, positivity, and wisdom around the planet together, inspired to evolve onwards, upwards, and inwards. And to continue your inspirations flowing, Ann Tucker and I were connected through Pam Gregory, and here's an episode with Pam that you're absolutely gonna love. So check that out, go on, and I'll see you over there. See you there.